copywriter frustrated? Are you missing big calls? Did you struggle to get a response from customer service for weeks? We're able to help. Mind to answer questions yourself. Make a list of the most common questions your prospects pose for one of these copywriting tips. Why should I buy from you, for example? Have you got a guarantee? Then use your camera or other recording device to answer your questions. Click print and talk as you have a face-to-face conversation. Don't dream about looking like a copywriter or an expert. Play the recording back when you're done and write down what you said. You don't have to discuss all your clients, just one goal, to have that personal conversation in order to find out what they want and how you can help them. Hacks to copyright 2. Write killer headlines. Did you read a headline you just couldn't believe and the rest of the copy you couldn't resist reading? Why did Dan Locke end up in a crowd of teenage girls, like the headline said? What happened to that? Me, Dan Locke, in the middle of a bunch of teenagers, screaming at the top of their lungs, unexpectedly get caught up? Or the email headline, I made a mistake. Indeed, mistakes are made by people. It's hard enough to admit in print that you made a mistake. Yet people pay attention when a CEO or president makes a mistake. So people were curious when I sent an email with the headline, I made a mistake. What was the error? Most importantly, how is my error going to affect them? These are just a few examples of what the stories of the murderers can do. On request, write headlines. The next time you catch your eye, a killer headline, don't just read it. Create a folder and name it your headline swipe files. Electronic or paper, it doesn't matter. Swipe here is not about swiping on Tinder right or left. Swipe is a nice way to say steal, meaning you're taking all the examples of great headlines and subject lines that caught your attention and save them for future reference. For inspiration, enter your swipe file the next time you're lost for ideas. Another tool is this page where you can insert your headline and receive feedback on its commitment. Write viral headlines. Some forms of stories are shared on social media over and over again. For the next time you're low on inspiration, make a list of styles of headlines that go viral is a must-have. Hacks of copyright. Tell a story, but get to the point. Let's hope that with your mind-blowing heading you won the reader's attention. What's the next thing? To make a point, I often tell stories. Saying, do not do I as a way to start a company is boring. It's a fact, just say the truth. Instead, I tell a story because stories are selling to make the same point. I begin an email once, for instance. Okay, here's the story for you. After a talk, a person came to me a while back and asked me for advice. You might tell that he was a hard-working man, but a lot of pride in his ethic of work, and he put his family first. He wanted to provide. You're drawn into this story that might be about any worker you meet. It's easy to tell the story. You then incorporate the dialogue in order to make it even more practical. He said, Dan, I thought I had found a perfect property for sale. The house was in good shape, it was in a central location, and there was also fair property tax. I thought I'd make a profit out of it, and I've been. Instead, his voice slowed down for the first few months, and his face changed. Then, the way I thought it wouldn't have gone. The toilet broke, which looks like a small thing, but I had to pay a couple of $100 to fix it. And then, a few months later, I was told by tenants that they were moving out. For 2 months, I couldn't find anyone to replace them. I was losing money then. This story was the start of my email about getting good financial advice and starting a business. My email attracted readers with a dramatic plot, and very quickly got to the point of losing money from bad financial advice. It's critical to get to the point immediately. Otherwise, they'll leave if your reader doesn't like what they're looking for. Hacks to copyright 4. What has a more influential impact on you? If I asked you, do you have a hard day, or do you have a bad day? Rough day may have triggered traffic jam memories, stressful deadlines, and tense arguments. Poor day did not trigger the same reaction in its absolute blandness. Studies have found that textural adjectives that stimulate the brain differently, terms like strong, words that cause an emotional reaction such as metaphors, increase the activity of the brain and recall memory. So choose words that give texture to your ideas for one of these copywriting hacks. To put your copy to life, use terms that you can feel, like shiny, rough, thorny, and bone-crunching. The root of all purchasing decisions is based on one or more emotions. Ultimately, everyone buys for emotional reasons and then makes every attempt with logic to justify it. I am no exception to that. I'm collecting toys from Iron Man and Batman just because they make me feel like that. Some of these toys are costing hundreds of dollars. For these reasons, you must appeal to emotions to attract people to buy. Fear, covetousness, anger, flattery, salvation, lust, love, desire. Touching one or more of those emotions skillfully will make your copy compelling and convincing. Hacks, copywriting. First of all, or last, order is a powerful start. On this next point, you might disagree with me. Lead with your strongest point when you write a script. Yeah, first you give away your best idea, but you also have a great chance to grab and hold on to your listener. As a copywriter, the first obstacle you have is to capture the attention of the reader. So why don't you hit them over the proverbial head? Get them to sit up and notice, and then get to your next point. Pull your reader gently as you set momentum and keep up with your addition. Gently, because it creates resistance if you push it. You don't want a reader who is not willing to buy. You don't want that. 2.4. Useful copywriting productivity hacks. There is basically nothing more critical than profitability as a copywriter. Although efficiency means doing more in less time, it also means staying organized and producing better work. Perfect for you and your customers. Sadly, the quality of copywriting is something many authors are grappling with. Besides the fact that most copywriters work from home, every copywriter I know juggles multiple jobs at once, tending to a huge selection of customers' needs, questions, and concerns at the same time. Needless to say, after a while, this can become a tenuous balance, which is precisely why it is so important for copywriters to master productivity hacks. Copywriting is more important today than ever before, and those who know how to manage their time effectively are the most productive copywriters on the web. Check out these 5 smart productivity hacks that I use to help streamline your days and produce better content. Use a browser plugin to avoid your internet loss. It's easy for stuff like Twitter and cat videos or cat videos on Facebook to eat up our hours if we're not careful. The biggest challenge discovered by becoming a qualified copywriter is, without a doubt, how to put a lid on internet-based distractions. Thankfully, there are a variety of smart ways to do this effectively. Using a browser plugin called Momentum is my favorite way of keeping internet distractions at bay. Every time I open a new tab in Chrome, Momentum shows a personal dashboard with a scenic picture, an inspirational quote, a regular goal, which I set each morning, and a list of to-dos. Each time my motivation starts slipping and I start fantasizing about watching a cat ride a Roomba around someone's kitchen in a shark costume, momentum reminds me of what I'm supposed to do and helps me stay on track. Thank you very much for that. Consider the office a telephone-free zone. I worked as a legal assistant before I was a copywriter. I could check my phone in that job all day without taking a hit on my productivity. But the minute I switched to full-time copywriting, this ground ceased. Maybe it's because copywriting is such an active occupation, or because it takes so much attention. But I believe one of the copywriter's biggest distractions is a ringing cell phone. When I stop checking a text or picking up a phone call from a friend during the day of work, I have an extremely hard time picking up where I left off. It takes 4 times to get something done, and the job I do is subpar. Banning your phone from your workplace with that in mind. Wherever you exile it, it doesn't matter, as long as it isn't face up on your desk. The phone is left in the kitchen and plugged in while I'm writing. This allows me to keep my productivity intact and with fewer distractions to churn out my work. Write down a daily to-do list. While using the to-do feature on Momentum, my primary organizing mode is a big notebook that holds all my brain's contents. I would be reduced to wandering the streets and sobbing like a lost child if I lost this planner. That's the important thing. While the planner keeps me organized and keeps me from forgetting assignments or breezing past due dates, it also helps me to be accountable. Don't you like me? No worries, for this to be backed up by some good science. According to research carried out at the Dominican University of California by psychology professor Dr. Gail Matthews, people wrote goals that are whopping 42% more likely to reach them. While this refers to broad, long-term goals, it also applies to daily goals. Write a regular to-do list with this in mind. It will also inspire you to stay productive and achieve your goals every day, in addition to helping you reach your milestones. Take frequent breaks to increase focus. Isn't it strange that stopping production is one of the most powerful productivity hacks? Besides the fact that getting out of the office significantly decreases eye fatigue in people working on computers, I see you, copywriters. People taking daily 2-minute-long breaks are 11.15% more successful than their peers. Take frequent breaks all day long with that in mind. Set the alarm for 30 minutes when I notice I'm beginning to get overwhelmed and bogged down. I do nothing but compose for that 30 minutes, even if what comes out is awful. I wake up and go out for 5 minutes when the alarm goes off. The moral of the story is this: sometimes in order to remain as productive as possible, you have to give productivity a break. Batch test all, no exceptions. This is a trick I've learned from the efficiency master Tim Ferriss. It's incredibly rare in a world of push notifications, reminders, inboxes, and text messages that we get to spend some amount of time focused on one issue. It leads to mental burnout and elevated levels of stress over time. Fortunately, by putting some constraints on your digital world and beginning to batch check your virtual communications, you can combat it. What can I test the sample, you ask? Great question. Great question. You can check your emails, voicemails, text messages, notifications from social media, and alerts by batch. To get started, define 2 times a day that you're going to check these things. For example, 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. And then limit them to that. No cheating. While helping you concentrate more fully on the tasks at hand, batch testing your different platforms will also help you stay more efficient throughout the workday. 2.5. Persuasive copywriting hacks that will lead to more conversions. Drive demand by urgency. When buying or leasing a vehicle, the emergency selling trick is often used by car salesmen. Tomorrow, you'd better decide on a ride. We're interested in other people, and the car you've got your eyes on will go fast, they say. Okay, the emergency concept also extends to other sectors. If you want to act quickly on prospective customers, threaten them with a sense of urgency. People are attracted to items that are available in limited amounts or only for a certain amount of time. Urgency speeds up decisions and therefore drives demand. With countdown timers, temporary offers, timing terms like no, low, now, without, minimal, reduced, fast, and stop, you can cure a sense of urgency in several ways throughout the film. When you use a number of headlines, whether in a blog post, an email subject line, an advertisement, etc., you instantly catch the attention of the reader, says White's direction. Infuse numbers throughout copy. People are attracted to numbers because they are represented by another part of your brain that handles logical order. Statistics cut word count beyond this purpose, making it easy for people to read it and determine whether they are able to opt in to what you've got to say. Therefore, using numeric numbers 1, 2, 3, or written out numbers 1, 2, 3 in your headlines, subheads, print, pull-out, quotes, call to action buttons, / close print. Get your pronouns right. Go against every English teacher and use the pronoun you. You already realize it's all about your audience, so talk to them directly. Bring the front and center viewer with plenty of you words. Julia McCoy writes in the Search Engine Journal. Picture your perfect audience member sitting in front of you as you compose, attentive and nervous about what you're writing. One thing is certain, they want to be addressed directly, not responded to as a vague group of they. Here's a don't example. I'm going to explain how to do something in this article. Do. Would you like to know how to do something? This is why you should take care of yourself. Nix neutral copy and persuade through emotion. Nix rational copying and persuasion by emotion unexpectedly. Emotion triggers customer behavior. Emotion, or pathos, is one of the 3 convincing features of Aristotle. Pathos is your presentation's emotional material and is probably the most important. If you change the thinking of people on an emotional level, you can inspire them to change their thinking and take a particular action, says author Brian Tracy in a recent post from the American Marketing Association. Emotion influences instinctual experiences, makes our memories resonate with things. It also prompts us, in the future, to follow the same course of action. So, none of the neutral tone in the copy of your company. Purpose to include words that invoke a strong positive or negative emotion. Avoid fluff and prove your true worth. Avoid fluffing and prove your true value, they say. Credibility is important. But how do you make your brand copy credible without sounding boastful or gimmicky? Your goal is to get your audience to adapt and trust you. Unfortunately, the overuse of adjectives and jargon loads a lot of brand copy. While it is tempting to include generic terms that are fuzzy, it is useless unless you give evidence that the adjectives are real. Enter the second dimension of persuasion of philosopher Aristotle, ethos. When you talk, it refers to credibility. Increasing trust increases your reader's chances of believing your conclusions and taking action on your suggestions. Saying your brand is amazing is one thing, but another to prove it with examples. Here are some inclusions to suggest enhancing ethos inside your copy. Contextual links to sites that you trust to support or build on a claim. Relevant statistics to support claims or advice. Quotes from business experts. User-generated or customer-led content. Case studies to show the importance of your product or service. Keep copy simple and lead visitors to conversion points. Keep copying easy and lead visitors to conversion points. Apart from general user experience, having scannable content helps companies rank higher in the results of organic search. In reality, Google says low visual complexity, easy to scan, and high prototypicality, one representing a given vertical, is a major factor in the ranking of organic searches. There's the most successful websites out there. To emphasize conversion points, they accentuate white space and make it easy for visitors to click and spend to the content of their heart. We stop sidebars or pop-ups, keep text short, have some photos of heroes, and eliminate call to actions. 2.6. Hacks to keep in your back pocket when writing for social media. An important part of the toolkit of a social media manager is to have strong copywriting skills. You have to tell a story on Twitter, but briefly, and the photo must match a precisely worded caption on Instagram. Where do you balance all of this with the marketing campaign goals of your brand? Social writing differs from other copywriting types. Here, you need a more conversational social tone to balance your sales pitches. Within this post, while writing for social purposes, we will discuss a variety of ways you can develop your copywriting skills. To help you execute it, each tip comes with a helpful tool. Let's start with it. Analyze your headlines. Not all headlines are worth tweeting. Some are dull. Some are clickbait, and some are merely meandering about. But careful when sharing a connection to share a title only. In order to make the article copy more appealing, rewriting is a must. Good headlines can do one or more of the following. Evoke an emotional connection. Inform or help others learn about the subject. Incite action. Clickbait headlines are used as we can't bear to miss a fun fact. In reality, 10,000 widely shared articles were analyzed by OKDork, and each mapped an emotion. The top two feelings that powered the shares were awe and laughter. The original title, The Hunt to Save Stephen Hawking's Voice, was taken by the San Francisco Chronicle and added detail to the tweet to make it more interesting. It also probably evoked emotion in the reader from the timing. You can use a headline analyzer tool to execute this trick. The Advanced Marketing Institute offers a free analyzer based on the industry in which you write. The method is helpful when you're at a word loss or need additional confirmation that your headline is working. Create headline templates. There is a list of successful headline templates if you are constantly running out of headline ideas. It is time-consuming that you can use for other work. To begin with, tear down some lists like the popular blog titles of Olivia and the headline formulas of Copyblogger. Write down the models you think your business is going to work with. Take note of which ones are more effective when you check your social media copy through your headlines. Do some headlines get more shares and others get more commitment? Every design is ready for your company out of the box, so you're going to have to tweak it as you go. BuzzFeed has nailed headline writing down to a science, probably the media company that sparked the clickbait epidemic. Numbered objects are widely circulated, and when you click on them, you usually know what you get into. This piece isn't going to be useful to everyone, but if you're looking for a list of robotic cleaners, you'll have to click on it. Recycle your content. Don't waste all of your headlines writing. Take an article that resonates with your audience or will resonate with it and schedule several different posts about it. When sharing an article, there are many ways to take a quote from the article, write a one-sentence summary post, a picture from the piece, create a graph that quotes the piece. National Geographic has chosen to write a succinct and concise tweet instead of reusing the title. We may choose to take a different quote from the article on other tweets or share a photo relevant to it. Use a tool such as Sprout Social to organize your posting and schedule ahead to help you with scheduling posts. You can take one item and plan 3 tweets about it at different times in the future instead of constantly worrying about material. This strategy works best when you regularly write. Using active voice. Learn the difference between voice passive and voice active. In your call for actions, using active voice prompts users to take immediate action. Also, in social media, active voice works well because it is more succinct and focuses the sentence on the subject. For instance, would you prefer to stand out from a new iPhone model launched by Apple, or Apple releases a new iPhone model? The second option is usually preferable to the first. The active voice headline. It asks you who the focus is, Apple, and what it has done, releases. You can use a free tool such as the passive voice detector to determine if you have it in your copy for a simple review. When you type in your browser, the paid version of Grammarly can also search passive voice. Build a style guide. Although at the outset, this is not necessarily a hack, a style guide can save you a tremendous amount of time in the future. It should include everything from grammar to visual graphics to post formatting about social media communications. Make this an expenditure in the first time. Having a style guide will make it easier for you to copyright. Rather than worrying what language to use in a Facebook post, check your guide to see if any terms accepted by the company will work. Remember, you won't have to ask if a tweet is too long if your style guide tells you to keep it under 20 characters. 2.7. Actionable hacks to craft compelling copy. Research the product. Before anything else, you have to do some analysis before you write a headline. You've got to know what you're offering before you write words that sell. You're probably familiar with the unique selling point, USP. A USP refers to the unique value of a business, operation, product, or brand that helps it stand out from competitors. The specific selling proposition must be a feature that highlights the advantages of the product that are important to customers. What better than the competition? In any case, better. Perhaps it's innovative. Let people know why you should be picked. Show how they can be benefited by your product or service. USP is indeed important, but more knowledge should be derived from the substance you are researching. To make that happen, some questions need to be answered. If you can't do that, then you probably don't know what you should do. Knowledge is power, and awareness allows you to get a clear picture of what you want to encourage in other cases. Impression is not meant to precede nature. It should go hand in hand. Copywriting supports a product's utility, so you need to know exactly what these utilities are. Ask the right questions and write the answers down. In fact, down some answers is the proof that you know about the product instead of pretending you know about it. For example, if I were asked to make some copies of our sister company, Viral Loops, these would be my answers. What's the product? Social Loops is a viral marketing tool for the launch of competition lists, sweepstakes, and pre-launch and referral services. What is the greatest benefit it offers? Viral campaigns with less commitments than ever before, referral services, viral gifts, and single-platform pre-launch promotions. What is the pain that alleviates it? Complexity. In a few clicks, you can build and run powerful campaigns for viral and referral. Something that was once complicated, expensive, and tedious, creating, implementing, and running a referral campaign, has now become simple. Forget about your lack of coding skills because they are obsolete. You don't need to know how to create a website or pay anybody to do that. Time. The product will save valuable time for you. It is now a matter of minutes, what used to be a matter of days. What are the features and what are the advantages of each? Sidebar editor, adjustable assets that work with all templates. Full compatibility to get the most out of it. The app can be integrated with a range of other sites: WordPress, Squarespace, Twitter, Shopify, WooCommerce, i.e. preview mode. Before you launch it, you can see exactly how your campaign would look like on your website. Lead with your strongest point. There is, or is used to be, a debate as to whether you should actually leave the best point. You're not expected to. The only explanation for this, like a cake, is that of a final touch. But this isn't a buffet, and although this psychological trick actually works, the danger isn't worth it. Have your content available. Gather all your points and focus from the most favorable to the least. Under a dozen paragraphs, don't bury your unique selling point. Label it number one so that it can stand out first and foremost. In comparison, don't presume that your audience will listen to them. Persuade them they need to. Try to lead with it instead of building up to its strongest point. It should be used as a lure to attract the reader from the beginning, not as a last resort to make an impression. It all starts with a headline. You don't know the old saying, you never get a second chance to make somebody's first impression. Even if someone is on the internet, their span of attention is no greater than that of their beloved dog. So it is safer for you to be understood or not read. If there is no first move, there will be no possibility of a second. If you've actually created a convincing copy, it's all right. Just make sure you can persuade someone to read it. Your purpose is to get the attention of the reader and get them to read your headline and the headline of the sub. Instead, copy the body's first paragraph and the other. And there's the sixth. Your call to action is all the way down. Every copy is different depending on the industry and the brand, the writer and the audience. However, some techniques work unarguably. We work because, if not, who creates millions upon millions of views on the content of titles using these same techniques? So you want your audience to sell something. Great. You know what you're selling enough. What's your target about? You need to know who the product/service is being sold to. Look at the difference. Please don't do it because the hard truth is that your audience doesn't care about your business. Give the reader empathy. Show how your product or service will improve them. If you want to sell, you'd better explain why anyone should buy it. For whom do you write? What is their age and where are they living? What are your best wishes? In the past, what products or services have they bought from you? What's the reason? A student wants to see how money can be saved for him. A company manager would prefer to find an ad in which the product or service collects money. Ensure the right content is created for the right people. The more your audience knows, the more critical it will be your copy. Your choice of voice, style, and word will take your target audience into account without alienating your potential audience. say a phrase about being a storyteller. Whenever you're Dungeons and Dragons sessions, you may hear that a lot lately. But what does that mean? Storytelling is about selling, using pure reliance on emotion through a credible story. Is this a new thing? No, that's not it. Let's go back to 1926 and take a look at a classic John Caples was that guy who wasn't laughed at in the end. And this copy was what launched the career of John Caples, who landed at the Advertising Hall of Fame a few decades later. Mr. Caples does not want to sell anything at first glance. He wants his story to be shared. He tells us how he was in the evening, and he sat down to play the piano. He takes his time to tell us how he shocked us because he was not known to play the piano. Then he goes on about how he nailed it, and no one could believe he'd become so quickly professional and without an instructor. Only then, after 2 full columns, does he show the product and encourage the reader to check it out, and so on. And that's how you say or sell a story. A cliffhanger headline, suspense, a copy of the body that doesn't want to sell anything to you. But it's all about the commodity and your call to action. Take notes. Remember when you had an idea that came to your head like a cannonball, but when you tried to remember it, it was nothing but a golf ball that was forgotten? That's because somewhere you didn't write it. This is not enough for me to stress. Keep notes. Write down anything that comes to your mind that looks like a good, funny, authentic idea. There's no excuse for this. Have a notebook in your desk, bed, and bag. Are you too romantic? Perhaps but that's where your phone comes in. Even apply this to your people's work. I remember standing in a supermarket aisle, so I wrote down the body copy of an olive oil label instead of going on with my shopping, and even if it wasn't extra virgin. Ask yourself, why have you slowed down from time to time to read the whole billboard? What prompted you to click on a surf headline? Why did you stop your finger on a shampoo ad while browsing through the magazines of your dentist? What you're going to end up with in a very dense space is a lot of ideas. Each time you start something new or just run out of ideas, it will be your mental headquarters. It's going to be a big bang brainstorming, your own hack to make compelling copies. Proofreading. Okay, it's part of your shop window to search your copy. If you're not polishing it, you'll find it as messy or worse, unprofessional. What if you walked into a cafe and found the door was filthy and the floor was a mess? You'd have to consider the quality of the coffee before going to get right. Nearly, you'd first notice that something is off with the place before you just think about it. It's a quicker feeling than a thought, and generally, emotions go away faster than they do. You'll have to give a very good reason to the reader/customer to give you a second chance later. It is not optional to proofread, it is a must. So, how will you satisfy this need? A spell checker is all that, but that's not enough. Basically, a spell checker will trick you. Take another look with your own eyes when you're finished writing your copy. If what you write will be published in print, print it first as well as paper proof. This is an additional safety valve because safer than sorry. Proof after a few hours or even the next day given the opportunity. Your brain won't take for granted many things, which is the root of many proofreading errors. 2.8. Use punched-in-the-gut storytelling. Remember when you had an idea that came to your head like a cannonball, but when you tried to remember it, it was nothing but a golf ball that was forgotten? That's because somewhere you didn't write it. This is not enough for me to stress. Keep notes. Write down anything that comes to your mind that looks like a good, funny, authentic idea. There's no excuse for this. Have a notebook in your desk, bed, and bag. Are you too romantic? Perhaps but that's where your phone comes in. Even apply this to other people's work. I remember standing in a supermarket aisle, so I wrote down the body copy of an olive oil label instead of going on with my shopping, and it wasn't even extra virgin. Ask yourself, why have you slowed down from time to time to read the whole billboard? What prompted you to click on a surf headline? Why did you stop your finger on a shampoo ad while browsing through the magazines of your dentist? What you're going to end up with in a very dense space is a lot of ideas. Each time you start something new or just run out of ideas, it will be your mental headquarters. It's going to be a big bang brainstorming, your own hack to make compelling copies. Chapter 3. How to create persuasive content. 3.1. How to create persuasive content. Aristotle's rhetoric theorized 3 essential elements of persuasion in the 4th century. BC: ethos, logos, and pathos. The first form relies on the speaker's character, ethos. The second on putting the listener in a specific frame of mind, pathos. The third on the facts, or evident proof, presented by the names of the speech itself, logos. Given Aristotle, to inform their audience adequately, a speaker must have doctrine, pathos, and logos. This can be compared to how top brands use content at conferences and events or through their blogs to meet their consumers. Using the ancient philosophy of Aristotle, learn how to solve complex modern marketing issues by adding more inspiration to your blog material. Giving integrity to your content, ethos. Ethos is legitimacy, or an ethical appeal. Aristotle would suggest that if they find you credible and trustworthy, your blog readers will be more likely to be swayed by your material. This could mean working for your blog with respected industry influencers, copywriters, and content creators, or highlighting your website's biggest customers. Begin by identifying influential content contributors from within your industry to add credibility to your blog. To find writers who suit your brand personality and marketing needs, read magazines, competitor forums, social media, and more in-depth materials such as ebooks and white papers. Make a list of 5 to 10 famous resources and reach out to each one to determine whether you can create or directly hire a co-marketing opportunity. Make sure to ask for your total portfolio of content and any references to confirm your reputation. A few other ways to give your blog content credibility. To validate your content, link to trusted third-party sources. Using examples or quotations from industry influencers that are valued. Improve the reputation, experience, or awards of your organization. Encourage and post product reviews and consumer testimonials. Illustrate your writing and marketing efforts with honesty, sincerity, and insecurity. Begin a user-generated initiative for social evidence change. Share your business skills and professional resume for entrepreneurs or small businesses. As a rule, make sure that when creating content, you and any freelancers you employ have the best interest of your readers or customers in mind. The audience is more knowledgeable than you realize, and you can feel hidden agendas or too much self-promotion, all of which may hurt the reputation. Offer reason for customers to understand quality, logos. Logos can be described as a sentence, expression, or argument used by reason or logic to convince or persuade an audience. Recently, top brands have raised the bar for fellow content marketers by creating inspiring blog content, responding quickly to social inquiries, or providing consistently outstanding customer assistance. People have grown to expect this great level of value from all brands, regardless of their size or available resources, and customer service. Such advantages and expectations help convince customers to make a logical case over that of a rival to buy your product or service. In order to give your consumers a reason to buy your deals, you will need to have intimate knowledge of what your competitor is up to and tactfully sell your rational benefits. Have you thought about your industry's main purchasing factors? Would you care most about the demand of your customers, quality, experience with the brand? Identify a list of benefits of buying your product over a rival and use that analysis to inform the content of your blog. To reassure your readers or encourage them to use logic on your blog. Strengthen any arguments or observations you make with reliable statistics or data. Create and promote real case studies for customers and show what you've learned. Use side-by-side comparisons to demonstrate the competitive advantages and product differentiators. Include comprehensive explanations on how your company will boost your life or overcome your challenges. For example, in the same price range, Chevrolet offers a side-by-side comparison with other car manufacturers to help their customers make a logical decision on which car to purchase. Remember that Chevrolet stands out against the competition with their bid. We display a newer model, sexy red paint compared to more traditional options of gray with silver, and strong price benefits. Such subtle tricks will help their customers buy the Chevrolet Malibu. Sharing free, high-quality, and valuable content such as white papers, insightful case studies, or video presentations for B2B organizations can help them provide logical reasons for retaining customers and can be promoted through blog content. Many websites offer feedback from third parties to help customers make a more informed purchase decision. Identify 3 to 5 places for evaluating the industry or product. Google search questions like your business versus competitor company / differences between your company and the competitor company are best conducted. Find the pages that rate the best for those keywords. Ask for a product comparison with your brand and provide relevant facts about your company to their marketing teams. It will increase your chances of attracting more people to find places that rank well. In addition, consider joining in the comment section on popular blogs or answering questions from the industry on open forum platforms like Quora or Reddit. Build emotional appeal with empathy, pathos. Pathos is the nature of a life or work experience that activates emotions. Pathos may be the most important factor of Aristotle's rhetoric, but as a content marketer, it may also be the hardest to execute tactfully. Start by identifying what your readers are really emotional about in order to incorporate pathos into your blog content. Focus on thinking as empathetically as possible about your audience and customers. Tell yourself the brand's meaning and purpose. Who are you interested in helping? How is the company changing customers' lives? What are your program's pressure points? The Adobe Marketing Cloud offers B2B marketing tools, for example, where their target audience is professionals interested in developing their marketing efforts to boost sales revenue. Looking into Adobe's team understands that up to 45% of marketers are struggling with their data technologies. Adobe created the following commercial and empathic blog content to recognize and respond to marketer emotions. Adobe relates empathetically to companies in their marketing department struggling to understand data-driven decisions. Study your clients, reach your followers on social media, and perform extensive persona study to understand your audience better. Document your findings to inform your ongoing efforts to create blog content in your content marketing strategy. Check at least annually. You should also search for market influencers and recognize the highest performing content to get an idea of what content is most popular in your sector. Consider the following strategies for finding an emotional connection with your clients. Support an emotional cause, a nonprofit or community effort, and create informative content. Show thorough consumer concern by sympathizing with your blog material for their needs. Showcase on your website your company story, values, and motivators. Also, support it. Connect more one-to-one with your audience. Commit your personality freely and be as individual, honest, and transparent as possible. Keep in mind that the needs of your clients are constantly evolving, and you should incorporate ongoing processes to keep learning about your clients over time. This can help you to understand better how to persuade them. 3.2. User's choice based on emotion. The very point of choice is possibly still based on emotion, even with what we consider to be rational decisions. This result has huge implications for experts in negotiation. People who believe they can use reasoning alone to build a case on their side are likely to be bad negotiators. They need to explain the fundamental factors that drive the other party to make a decision. People who have been injured in a brain area that generates emotions often find it difficult to make decisions. Think of a situation where you had on your side bulletproof truth, reason, and reasoning, thinking that there was absolutely no way the other person could say no to your perfectly constructed claim and proposal. You thought that doing so would be difficult as there was no other logical solution or reaction. And then the other person caved in his heels, refusing to move. Your logic hasn't swayed him. Are you stunned? This is analogous to what many negotiators do to work out an agreement when they sit down at the table. They're coming armed with evidence and trying to use logic to sway the other side. They figure they can build a solution that is simply irrefutable and get the other party to say yes by piling up the data and using reason to explain their side of the situation. Nonetheless, they are doomed to fail because decision-making is not rational. According to the latest neuroscience studies, it is emotional. A few years ago, a pioneering discovery was made by neuroscientist Antonio Damasio. In the section of the brain where emotions are made, he studied people with damage. They seemed normal, he found, except they couldn't feel emotions. But they all had in common something peculiar. They were unable to make decisions. They might explain in logical terms what they should do, but they found it very difficult to make even easy decisions, like what to eat. Many decisions have both advantages and disadvantages. Do I have the chicken or the turkey? These test subjects were unable to reach a decision without a rational way of deciding. So, emotions are very important to choose at the point of decision. In fact, the very point of choice is possibly always based on emotion, even with what we consider to be rational decisions. This result has huge implications for practitioners in the negotiation process. People who believe they can use justification to build a case on their side are likely to be bad negotiators because they do not understand the real factors that drive the other party to make a decision. Those who base their technique of negotiation on logic end up relying on prejudices, assumptions, and opinions. If my side of the argument is rational, they point out, then the other side cannot disagree with it and is bound to turn to my way of thinking. The truth is, you can't assume you'll see things your way from the other side. Nevertheless, what the broker should and must do is build a dream for the other side to make their own discovery and decision, basically because your adversary wants to make them call. Getting him to want is the negotiator's job, not trying to convince him with reason. Using the step-by-step approach that is a member of the camp system. You don't know what to think or what's best for your opponent. You allow them to figure out for themselves what they think is right, best, and most useful. Their final decision based on self-interest. It's an emotional thing. That's what I want. That's a good thing for my family and me. There is a thorough and systematic way to go to the right direction and create a vision. But generally speaking, if you can get the other party to reveal their problems, pain, and unmet goals, you can create a vision of their problem for them, with you and your proposal as a solution. They're not going to make their choice because it's logical. They're going to make a decision because you've made them believe it's for their benefit to do so. 3.3. Transform your stuff into the right thing to do. The opportunities for change and progress seem to be limitless with the proliferation of digital transformation and success stories of corporate innovation. Further, in my ongoing research on the subjects, I consistently find the why and overall purpose of digital transformation and innovation lacking from a majority of companies. Yet, without understanding why or identifying vision or intent for change, the effect, significance, and overall competitiveness of digital transformation and innovation are limited. Sure, decision makers pay attention to emerging patterns. Sure, modern Darwinism is also growing innovation and attempts to live. I believe managers want the right thing to do. A lot of people see the need for improvement. Nevertheless, the challenge is that many of today's future-related decisions are all too often rooted in the past. Similarly, the most innovative companies are trying to unlearn, switching from traditional mindsets to new experiences in order to look differently around challenges and opportunities. Without doing so, change and innovation's reach and effect are finite. It's all in your mind. With old ways, you can't open new doors. Digital change and creativity are limited or infinite in possibilities as described by mentalities and viewpoints. Most decision makers are not yet directly affected by the same market forces. We don't love it or enjoy it. Nevertheless, it is not their responsibility. Based on their experiences, what they consider to be real, and how their actions are calculated, they go through life and work. At the same time, however, disruptive technologies affect human behaviors, thoughts, beliefs, etc. New generations of customers and employees are going in new directions that are not instinctual to those employed in heritage models. What they suppose to be the right thing to do can be counterintuitive to the real solution. It's clear for psychology to get in the way because they don't live their business in similar ways to develop generations of connected customers and employees. There's a quote from Leo Tolstoy that I often share. Everybody talks about changing the world, but no one thinks about changing themselves. For example, having cognitive bias or approval bias prevent or impede seeing the effect and real reason for external changes is not unusual and quite human in reality. For what it is, it's hard to see the universe. Alternatively, seeing it as we are is simple. Sadly, we cannot do things differently without seeing things differently. Limited perspective at best leads to iteration. Doing better the same stuff. On the other hand, creativity is doing new things that create new value. Only a combination of the two will cause disruption, which makes the old stuff redundant by doing new things. Modernizing value propositions. It highlights business in the technical, but mostly human aspect of the challenge faced by many companies. Take a minute to think about today's market, what it entails. Of course, it's about income, shareholder/stakeholder value creation, something fantastic, building, etc. The models we use to create, operate, and evolve have been built in a different genre, where the hierarchical and organized business and human dynamics have been. Nonetheless, disruptive technology does just that. It disrupts everything. People are connected, educated, motivated, powerful, and on the way, increasingly challenging. This sets the stage for a more compassionate, purpose